When we imagine life inside a medieval castle, it's easy to picture kings and queens living in luxury. But in reality, castles were drafty, cold, and often brutally uncomfortable during the long winters. So how did people manage to sleep without freezing to death in these massive stone fortresses? Today, we'll uncover the surprising tricks, customs, and technologies that helped medieval lords and peasants alike survive the chill of the Middle Ages. First, let's set the scene. Castles were built for defense, not comfort. Thick stone walls kept out arrows and invading armies, but they also absorbed cold and made interiors damp. Windows were narrow slits, often without glass, so icy winds easily slipped inside. Central heating didn't exist, and while fireplaces provided some warmth, a single fire couldn't heat a huge hall or chamber. In fact, many rooms were frigid no matter how big the flames were. So, survival in a medieval castle wasn't about heating the room, it was about keeping the body warm enough to sleep. One of the main defenses against the cold was bedding. Beds in noble households weren't just simple mattresses, they were elaborate structures. People slept on thick straw mattresses stuffed with wool or feathers, covered with heavy woolen blankets and fur throws. Layer upon layer trapped body heat, much like a modern sleeping bag. Sometimes, the curtains around the bed weren't just decorative. These bed curtains were designed to keep drafts out and trap warmth inside, creating a miniature heated zone even in a freezing chamber. For wealthier nobles, furs from fox, bear, or even imported ermine provided extra insulation. Another overlooked fact, people didn't usually sleep alone. Sharing a bed was normal, both for warmth and practicality. Servants often shared beds in dormitory-style quarters, while even nobles sometimes slept several to a chamber. Body heat was a natural heater. In cold winters, a crowded bed was better than an empty one. There's even evidence that travelers, monks, and guests shared beds with strangers at inns or monasteries, simply to stay alive through frosty nights. Interestingly, medieval people often slept differently than we do today. Some sources describe the practice of two sleeps. People would go to bed early, wake in the middle of the night for a few hours, then go back to sleep. During these periods of rest, they often curled tightly, wrapped in blankets, to conserve body heat. Sleeping curled in a fetal position wasn't just comfortable, it helped reduce heat loss, which was crucial in unheated rooms. Nobles sometimes had access to clever tools to pre-warm their beds. One was the bed warmer, a metal pan filled with hot coals, slid between the sheets before bedtime to chase away the initial chill. Another was heated stones or bricks wrapped in cloth, placed at the foot of the bed like an early hot water bottle. While fireplaces rarely heated an entire chamber, they did provide local warmth. The trick was sleeping near the fire, but not too close, as sparks could easily ignite straw mattresses or wooden furniture. Forget silk pajamas. Most medieval people slept in linen shifts, long shirts, or even kept their day clothes on. Woolen socks, hats, and hoods were common nighttime attire. In fact, the famous nightcap wasn't just for cartoons, it was essential. Since most body heat escapes through the head, covering it at night was a practical way to stay warm. For peasants who lived in cottages instead of castles, layering clothes while sleeping was an everyday necessity, as their simple homes were often just as drafty as a stone fortress. In many castles, especially during feasts or military campaigns, servants, soldiers, and guests simply rolled up in blankets and slept in the great hall. Dozens of bodies packed into one room generated collective warmth, much like a medieval dormitory. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked. So, how did people in medieval castles keep from freezing to death? They relied on smart bedding, heavy furs, shared body heat, hot stones, layered clothing, and even specialized furniture like bed curtains. Castles may have been cold, but humans have always been resourceful when it comes to survival.